race of the week from Laurel Park. My name's Frank Vespe. I'm joined by my friend John Piassek. John, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, Frank. Great 9 race card on top of the Saturday at Laurel.
Yeah. It's no stakes this week, but it's a pretty nice card. Give me a quick your impressions of the stakes from last week.
Well, it's quite the year so far. Now we have not one but two Jersey-bred prospects on the Derby Trail. We had Pick and Time won the Nashua, and now we have No Sense getting the job done in the James Lewis. Not quite sure how he's going to stretch out yet. Obviously, it's only 6 furlongs and 30 mile and a quarter. But it will be interesting to see how both of them develop moving forward. And of course, Trevor McCarthy, who has never been for the Derby, he has the mounts on both. Hopefully, he keeps them, and both of them keep going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like to me at this point, Pick and Time is a little bit ahead of No Sense. I mean, he's one going a mile, so he's a little bit farther ahead. But we still have a number of, well, in theory, we've got about 6 months to the Derby, but who knows what the future holds for any of us. So, but it's still plenty of time to catch up for No Sense. But you're right, you get actually a couple of really nice Jersey breds in this class, which is maybe it's a testament to the good work breeders up there doing with small foal crop sizes.
Absolutely. I mean, over the past 2 or 3 years, racing in Jersey has started to get back on the right track. I thought Monmouth Park had a great meet this year. Over the past few years, we have seen quite a few quality Jersey breds. We've had Sunny Ridge, Horologist, Irish War Cry, and hopefully these two keep up the good work. And Golden Brown as well.
Yep, Golden Brown as well, for sure. All right, well, that sounds good. Let's turn our attention to race 8 from Saturday at Laurel Park. It's a second level allowance with an optional claiming tag of $35,000. They're going a mile and a 16th, or technically it's about a mile and a 16th. One notable thing for a handicapper, it's a very short run of the first turn in a mile and 16th at Laurel. So you got to be a little bit, you got to like a horse breaking from the outside, because they got to figure it out really fast where they're going to be. Otherwise, they're going to be hung out in the parking lot. So something to think of. Post time 3:53 for this race. And John, you're going 5:472. I'm going 4:725. Let's run through these horses together here a little bit. Your top choice is Pretty Good Year, the Kelly Rubley trainee, closed from out of it to win the Maryland Million Turf last time, going a mile and an eighth on the green stuff. Switching back to the dirt, this is a pretty versatile horse. Has had I got to say it, pretty good year.
Yes, he has had a very good year. And first of all, also, I would like to note this race was split up into 2 divisions. It drew 15 horses. This is Division 2, and Division 1 features both Gallerio and Tattoo. And that's going to go as race 6. Here, Pretty Good Year did win Maryland Million Turf and ran huge in doing so. He was 12th early on. He was far behind a slow pace, and at the top of the stretch, it looked like it was going to be either Cannon's or Nick Papagiorgio, but he moved wide on the turn, came through late, and got up to win in by a length. In spite of that, I'm not quite sure that the grass is his best service. He has been doing most of his best running this year on the dirt. He's been knocking on the door at this level. He tends to stalk in mid-pack. He makes big moves late. He keeps kind of falling behind slow paces, though, and he sometimes leaves himself with a little too much to do. In spite of that, he is consistently one of the fastest members of this field. His speed figures are pretty steadily in 90s. Sheldon Russell, who rode him to victory twice over this track, does keep the mount. And there are enough speed horses in here that I'm not quite sure he'll fall behind that slow of a pace. As long as he sits about 2-3 lengths off the lead, maybe 4, then he'll be able to make the move he needs to win.
Yeah, the issue, my concern with Pretty Good Year and why I did not use him on top here is he's been toiling at this level for quite a while, and he's had a hard time winning this race. And this is not a great edition of this race. These horses are all pretty evenly matched, and none of them is a star or looks to be a star in the making necessarily. But he needs to step it up a little bit, which you could say he did last time out in the Maryland Million turf, and but he's going to need to step it up just a little bit to win here today, I would argue. Now the horse I used on top, you're using in second, is the 4 horse Beyond the Victory. And John, I don't know about you, what I like about him here is he's the speed. He's going to be in front early. He's going to be in front after 6 furlongs. After that, we're going to have to see, but he is the speed here. 2 concerns, not sure he's good enough is 1, and 2, little bit distance limited, and this is going to be right at the outer edge of his scope is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll know in about the first half mile if he's going to win. If he gets the half in about 48 and change, 49 and change, then he's in pretty good shape. But he will have challenges on the front end. He has Dixie Drawl down to his inside. I think if Angel Cruz uses him aggressively, he could hang Beyond the Victory wide around the turn. And also Nick Papagiorgio on his outside also has shown some speed in the past. Would not surprise me if he went out there again. As far as you said about speed, Beyond the Victory had a big lead turning for home last out, going a mile. It looked like he was home free at about the 8th pole, but he just started drifting out, and he could not hold on. And that was after a half mile in 48 and 1/5 seconds. He will have to, so he might have to go even slower than that early on. But again, if the X-Man sends him, and if he can get away with slow fractions, he'll be very tough. But it's no guarantee.
Yeah, and in this wide open field, I gotta admit, I am hoping for a little better than the 9-2 morning line, because I guess I think people are gonna. I'm hoping that people are gonna look at these races where he gacked up the lead late and say, well, the added ground's gonna kill him here, and so I'm hoping that there's a value play here and that he maybe offers some of that. Now you've got the 7 horse. That's Universal Payday for the Trombetta Barn as your show horse. This one kind of lightly raced, sort of moving in the right direction, has been fairly well beaten twice at this level.
He has, although, as you noted earlier, I'm not convinced this is the world's strongest edition of a novice other than allowance. I think a lot of the better horses who fit this class got placed in the other division. And he has raced pretty well recently. Early in the year, he ran a big race, winning at Saratoga, first off a long layoff. Beat a pretty good starter allowance field, coming from off the pace, not that easy to do at Saratoga. Then he got up and beat Gallerio, who is one of the hardest knocking horses on Maryland circuit. He beat him by a head, and also beat Eat the Poser, who was a next out winner and is another staple of these kind of races. He fell a little further behind than he might have liked to in his last 2 at MacLeod Park. He was 9 lengths behind. At the opening quarter last out, he was about 8 lengths behind, 2 starts back. When he had been winning, he was about 3-4 lengths off the early pace. So ideally, he'll be a little bit closer to the early tempo. I like to see him stalking 2-3 wide in about 4th or 5th place in this one. And if he can do that, he's got a good shot.
Yeah, he certainly cuts the right profile. He's, a decently bred horse coming from a good barn, lightly raced, working through his conditions. So he cuts the right profile in this race. He was, I guess I think it's a little notable. He was life and death to win. And you're right, Gallerio is a hard-hitting horse, but to win the A other than, and a lot of times I like to see a horse kind of win the A other than to make that next step in the 2 other than company. And he was kind of life and death, but nevertheless a good effort that day, and certainly a live horse here. And you've got in the rounding out the super here a horse that really one of the best claims the last couple of years, the 2 horse Rough Sea. Robbie Bales grabs this one first off a long layoff at the maiden 10 level, where the horse finishes way up the track, comes back, wins again, now has won an allowance. Certainly has a legitimate argument that he could win in this spot too.
Absolutely. I mean, in that race, he was bet down at even money odds, plunging in class off a year and a half layoff, and I don't know why, but everyone decided to bet him, and he was a disaster. But since then, he's really found his best self. He has won 3 out of his last 6, all 3 of them going away. and he beat a pretty good non-winners of one other than Allowance Field, including Benintendi, who at that time was considered pretty good up-and-coming younger horse, and that was just before things closed down here in Maryland. That last start, technically at the same level, much tougher than the two other than Allowance Field. First start off a long layoff. He closed okay. He ended up losing by 2 1/4 lengths. Ran a big late pace figure there, and he just missed his career high speed figure first off of the long layoff. I do fear that he might get pace compromised in this spot, but I think if you are playing a trifecta or a superfecta, he's a great horse to use underneath.
He's a 7-year-old gelding who has only raced a couple of times, 3 times this year, and well spaced. So this is actually going to be the first time he's sort of running 2 races in a row in this year, and it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Bales and owner John Kenworthy are hoping he can, as horses often do, take a step forward second time off the break. So that's Rough C, an interesting member of this 8-horse contingent going a mile on his 16th. And John, final thoughts on the 8th race?
I mean, if you wanted anybody to back, I think all 8 of them have a shot in here. You can't fault you taking anybody, and no matter who you like, you'll have a square price. And I think in 45 seconds or so, we'll know who's going to win. If Beyond the Victory is allowed to set a slow tempo, he's probably going to win. But if not, could set up for a stalker.
All right, sounds good. Well, good luck to you. 5472 for John, 4725 for me. That's going to do it for our race of the week for this week here at Laurel Park.